بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وخاتم الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المطهرين المكرمين. قال الله العظيم في كتابه الكريم وهو أحسن القائلين وأصدق الصادقين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم تر كيف ضرب الله مثلا كلمة طيبة كشجرة طيبة أصلها ثابت وفرعها في السماء. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the purification of the souls, the enlightenment of the hearts, the acceptance of the deeds, and for the hastening of the reappearance of the awaited Savior, Ajjallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, enlighten your souls and the atmosphere with the recitation of salawat upon Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. My respected elders, sisters and brothers, Salamun Alaikum wa Rahmatullahi Ta'ala wa Barakatuh. One of the most common aspects of human behavior in this day and age is the existence of household names. There are people out there who enjoy a certain fame or recognition whereby they're known by many people. In other words, when you mention a name of certain celebrity that is worldly known, or certain soccer or football players or individuals that have become famous due to their acting roles, you'll find many will be able to relate to them or be able to, for example, know something about them. These household names somehow become popular as time goes by, and especially when they're alive. When it comes to the Muslims around the world, if you were to go towards the Muslim households in this country or in many other places, and you ask them in terms of personalities in Islamic history, how many of them are considered household names, meaning that you would know them, you would actually recognize them, you would know who they are, have some understanding of who they became and their legacy and their teachings. You'll find that of course they will speak about the greatest and the choicest and the best of God's creation, Rasul al-A'zam Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Many will speak about, for example, certain of the companions that they know. They will speak about the prophets that they have come across. But I ask you, if you were to tell them, do you recognize the name of Ja'far al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi? I am pretty sure that the majority will say we don't. You might now ask me and say, why should they recognize an Imam from the Imam of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam? In other words, why do we expect the Muslim Ummah out there to have an understanding of the name at least of the Holy Six Imam? Why? Well, at the outset, what we now recognize is that 25% of the Muslim world today are what they call themselves Hanafis. These 25% follow an individual by the name of An-Nu'man ibn Thabit, otherwise known as Abu Hanifa. This particular individual himself comes forward and says very clearly, لولا السنتان لحلك النعمان. If it wasn't for 2 years in my life, I would have been destroyed and perished. I would be not known by anybody. They asked him which 2 years these are. He said, these 2 years that I was the student of Ja'far al-Sadiq salawatullahi wa sallam. So the 25% of the Muslim world today who follow the Hanbali school of thought should recognize the name of the sixth Imam because he taught their leader, and their leader says, if he hadn't taught me or was not my teacher for these 2 years, I would never be able to even exist. That's 25%. Now you come to 30%, the other 30% of the Muslim world, they follow another individual by the name of Imam Malik ibn Anas. If you go in North Africa, Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, those countries, You will come across many of the Malikis. When they come to pray, they don't fold their hands. When they come to do sajda, they like to do sajda on something that is not eaten or worn. In other words, they use straw normally in their mosques. I've seen it in my own eyes. When you come and you ask them, your teacher is whom, or your founder of your school is whom, is Malik ibn Anas. You go to his history and you ask him, this individual, can you tell us about who this individual that taught you was? He would say, the individual who is my teacher was Ja'far ibn Muhammad. And to the extent he says, ما لا عين رأت ولا أذن سمعت ولا خطر على قلب بشر. He says, the eyes have not seen, the ears have not heard, and the minds have never comprehended. أعلم وأحكم وأتقى. Someone more knowledgeable, someone more God-fearing, someone more what? Wise than Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq salawatullah wasalam. What does that mean? That means that the teacher of 30% of the Muslim world today is whom? Is Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam. Now if we combine these, we come to 55% of the Muslim world. And then if you add the school of Ahl al-Bayt, who according to some estimates are 15% of the Muslim world today, we come to the calculation that 70% of the Muslim world today should be able to recognize and speak of the excellence and the knowledge and the fadail of the six Imam. 70%. Yet I can perhaps say it is maybe 20%. The 15% of the school of Ahl al-Bayt and maybe 5% of the Muslim world. Why is that? What has happened? Throughout history, this calculation gives you an indication of how the extent of the propaganda against the Ahl al-Bayt and the particular focus on distorting their reputation and keeping them away, or the remembrance away from whom? From the masses, to the extent that many have not even heard of the name, let alone know the excellence. And that's why on a night like this, on a day like today, you and I are required to remember this holy individual for a number of reasons. The first is because it is an obligation upon you and I to do so. You ask me, many of us, alhamdulillah, when we attend the majalis of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam, the majalis of their shahada, the days of their wilada, we think it's a great blessing that we are able to attend, and we think it's a choice. We come. Sometimes we like to come, sometimes we don't, sometimes we participate, sometimes we don't, which is okay. But the Imam himself does not see it this way. Someone once came to him and said to him, Ya ibn Rasulillah, I want to learn from you. Imam alayhi salam said, what is the greatest blessing Allah has given you? The biggest ni'mah. Tell me. The man said, I think it's health. Imam said, that is a brilliant ni'mah Allah has bestowed upon you, but there is a blessing greater than this. He said, I think it's wealth. Imam said, Allah's ni'mah on the wealth is beautiful, but this, what I'm talking about, is greater. He said, life. Imam alayhi salam said, this is even greater than life. The man said, I don't know. Help me out. What is the answer? Imam alayhi salam said, it's in the Quran. It's in the Quran? He said, yes. Imam alayhi salam, sixth Imam tells him, have you not read the Quran? Surah Al-Duha, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. Speak to people. Allah commands. He says, don't have a choice. You must speak to people about the one favor of Allah. Those of you who know Arabic, you know in Arabic, the favor of Allah which is singular is ni'mah. The favor of Allah which is plural is ni'am. So, when the Quran says, بِنِعْمَتِي, Allah is saying there is one favor. I, Jalla wa ala, Allah wants you and I to continuously speak about it. And it's a command, not a choice. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. So the Imam alayhi salam, sixth holy Imam, says to him, which ni'mah is this? He says, I don't know, because I've just mentioned all these and you said they are not the greatest, so it must be something greater. Imam said, yes, it is in the Quran. The answer is again in the Quran. So the man said, tell me, what is it? Imam says, have you not read Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5, where Allah says, Al-Yawm akmaltu lakum deenakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati. Today the religion has been completed and my favors have been perfected. So the ni'mah of Allah, that is the best, greatest favor of Allah, which completes and perfects everything, all the other blessings of Allah that's given according to the Quran. That superior favor of Allah is the wilayah of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. So when the Quran says, speak to people about my favors, and in particular one favor, it is this, and that is the greatness of these holy individuals that have truly, truly been the greatest of the people who have enlightened and illuminated our hearts and our minds and our lives. And it is a great blessing for you and I to be able to be thankful to Allah for opening up the opportunities for us to be their followers. How amazing and a matter of pride and honor that you and I are known as Ja'fari. How amazing for you and I to be known as the Shia of the Ahlul Bayt, because that is a blessing that we shall never take for granted. And it comes with responsibility. It comes with the importance of protecting and being proud of our identity. You know, I may not be an individual who can say that the blame for the 50% or so of the Muslims, or even more, who have not heard of Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, is only because of the Bani Umayyah and Bani Abbas and the what? And the enemies of Ahlul Bayt only. Maybe part of the blame is you and I. Maybe. You know why? Because today there exists here in the United Kingdom, I have spoken to people, and I see them daily on social media. There exists in America, and there exists in the Western world, and there exists in many parts of the world, followers of the Ahlul Bayt who have come to me in my face and others and have said, I will never say to people, I am a follower of Ahlul Bayt. I will say I am a Muslim only. Because I don't want to cause division. This is sectarianism. Because if I say I'm Shia, somebody says I'm Sunni, then they are, why fighting? Why should we do this? I remember we were part of a program 7 years ago or so, part of a program to introduce Shia studies in the GCSE curriculum. And we made a lot of work to make sure that is there. Why? One day, my son who was studying at that time until now, he came to me and said, the teachers and my lesson at the religious education at school came and they were teaching us about the life of the Holy Prophet of Islam. And when they taught us the life, they were saying that the Prophet, when he received the revelation, he was hesitant, astaghfirullah. And he tried to commit suicide 3 times, and so on and so forth. I said to him, that's what they're teaching you in the British schools? He said, yes, that's what Muslims believe. And I know that in Bukhari that's true. That's what they say. It's there. In Sahih Bukhari, it's there. So now when I went to the teacher, she said to me, but that's the Islam that we have received. That is the Islam that we know. It is your fault that you have not told us your teachings. If your teachings of Islam are different, speak out. Say something about it so we know that you have a different version. Today, if you look at many of the curriculum 7 years later, something that I have checked itself, the Oxford, for example, Guide to GCSE Islamic Studies, they will tell you the Sunnis believe this way, the Shias believe this way. But wallahi, the biggest objection 7 years ago was from who? Not from the Sunnis, from the Shias. Here in London and other places. They came and said, why are you causing division? Why you need Shia studies? Why do you need to tell people about our Aqidah? Keep it amongst in our mosques. You don't need to tell the world. Because then people will say, oh, Muslims are divided. There is Sunni, there is Shia, there is this, Bravli, etc., Diobandi. There is Ismaili, and there is Zaidi, and there is Itna Ashari, and this. Keep it Muslim. And we say to them, but this is our Aqidah and our identity. And then they come up with the most unbelievably stupid question ever. Do you know what this question is? And they teach their children. And they are so proud on social media, they come up with this question. They say, but the Prophet was not Sunni or Shia. The Prophet, was he Sunni or Shia? So why do you call yourself? You see how sometimes these gullible or these kind of ideas make us think, yes, you know what, let me call myself just a Muslim. Today, if I want to make sure the world understands the beauty of Ahlul Bayt, I need to recognize that my identity as the follower of Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, as a Ja'fari, as a follower of these holy, pure, immaculate individuals, does not necessarily mean that I am against others. It is who I am. It is my identity. It makes me who I am. It is my path towards paradise and Jannah. Why should I be worried about what? My life is not in danger when I'm living in the UK because I am saying to people I am a follower of the Imam alayhi salam. But you have people who will fight for this and say, no, you will cause a lot of rift in the Muslim community and they will keep us backward. Whereas today what we have to teach our children and be role models ourselves, and that is wherever you go, wherever you are, if you are on social media, if you are at work, if you are at college, if you are at university, any place you are, at other activities you do, you identify yourself as a Muslim who follows the Ahl al-Bayt, and I am the Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib. That is your identity, Hawiyya. It is not a joke. The time has gone whereby we dilute our Aqidah. Time has gone. Yes, a few years ago, yes, I remember being in a massive 4,000 attendees of Muslim convention in Warwick, North UK. So the organizers said, we want a Shia representative. I said, very well, we will go and speak to our brothers. So I went. It was at the Eid time. We sat and there was a seminar on why there is Shia phobia in the Western world. Why sometimes some Shia are afraid to identify themselves and use a turba and muhr in the university campuses. Why, for example, they are not always comfortable to tell people that they are followers of Ahlul Bayt because they may get attacked. They get, for example, in certain places because of the existence of Salafis and so on, they will be ridiculed or they will be subject to even potential violence. So there was a lot of attendees. The biggest person who they had brought is a Maulana from them, who is known today, and if you type his name on Google, I don't want to mention his name, but if you type his name, people will say he is not extremist. He is moderate. Good. He is good with everyone. So I was sitting next to him in the panel. He said, I know why there is attacks on Shia. I will tell you why. He told the whole community. Majority of them were the followers of school of Sahaba. He said, I tell you why. You know why the Shias are always ridiculed and attacked? It's because they don't know maths. Maths? We all looked. We don't know maths? What are you talking about? He said, listen. We say the first Khalifa after the Prophet is Abu Bakr. They say the first Khalifa is Ali or should be Ali. We tell them, listen, we also agree that Ali is a Khalifa, but he's number 4. You either accept 1 or 4. What is the difference? So it is a mathematical issue. Ajib. All this 1400 years, he's brought it to 4 minus 1 maths. He said, that is why. He said, my solution to you, he looked at me. He said, UK, you want to live peacefully? Accept Abu Bakr as your Khalifa. Khalas. That is your solution. Why? Because the more you dilute your aqidah and your identity, the more these voices will tell our youth, it's okay. It's just a matter of 1-4, no problem. Accept this and you'll be okay. Accept this and no one will harm you. I looked at him and said, you have an idea around the world which is called the visa. He said, yes. I said, if you go to so many countries around the world, can you enter without a visa? He said, not really. You not need to have a visa wherever you go, yes? I said, so what happens if you don't have a visa? You go to a country, you have a passport. He said, if you don't, they will return you back to your country. I said, I want you and everyone to know here that the fact that we believe Ali ibn Abi Talib is after the Holy Prophet chosen by Allah is our visa to Jannah. We will not be individuals who give up that visa to paradise. Yes. This is not something we are joking. Yes. You think it's a matter of number and I choose this person and that person and whoever he came eventually later after 500 years. This is not a joke that you can just claim, we can just dismiss. Therefore, you and I have a responsibility in ensuring that our youth and our children and our families are educated that this identity of being the followers of Ahl al-Bayt, this notion of being called Ja'fari, is not just a cultural attachment or something that we have picked up throughout the years that's just on the side. It is truly a battle out there. It is truly detrimental to our future out there to ensure that we keep this light alive, and indeed we are the best examples for the generations that indeed come after us. Because there is no doubt today that we have challenges from within the school of Ahl al-Bayt who are trying to minimize and liberalize the teachings of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhum as-salam. Yes. And somehow trying to bring the teachings of the Ahl al-Bayt in line with what they think should be, and somehow in line with what other schools in Islam. And I've seen videos and I've seen lectures from certain individuals on YouTube and other places which are placing doubt in the hearts and our minds of our youth regarding Aqeedah of the school of Ahl al-Bayt. People who say, I am Shi'i, but I tell you, don't listen to anyone who believes Ahl al-Bayt have knowledge of the unseen from Allah. They don't have. There are those who have come and said, no, you can't say Ya Ali because that is shirk. There are those who have come and say, oh, marja'iyya, this, that. They are what? They are seeding or planting the seeds of doubt to the extent that they will filter out the aqeedah of the school of Ahl al-Bayt in order for our youth no longer to have that bond and attachment with the A'imma alayhim salam. To the extent they'll have, you know what kind of attachment they'll have? That these are great scholars. They are good people, but that's it. That's my relationship with them. That is the goal that they wish to shake up and that's why it is so important that these majalis, and especially in the language that our youth understand, are held regularly to honor the legacy of the likes of Imam Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salam. Today, if you and I, for example, go to places like British Museum, if we are able to go towards the section whereby they describe the history of chemistry and chemical processes, you will see there what? You will see one of the fathers of chemistry that's taught today to our children at schools and universities and other places of educational establishments. You will see Jabir ibn Hayyan. This Jabir ibn Hayyan was amongst the most celebrated and greatest of students of Imam alayhi salam, in which Imam taught him the important chemical processes such as evaporation, crystallization, distillation. And if you see in the British Museum, it says that this Jabir ibn Hayyan was the father of chemistry. For those who are seeking to understand that the roots of all these ilm are from where, must be able to immediately point this out to our children and to non-Muslims, that this Jabir that you see written on the British Museum is a student of an Imam of ours that what we follow, and he is our guide and leader. Yes, is a student of the sixth Imam, Ja'far ibn Muhammad as-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salam. That is why the Imam himself, in many narrations, he's the longest living Imam out of the Imam of Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam, other than of course the Holy 12th Imam. May Allah hasten his reappearance. But when it comes to his legacy and his teachings are immense. And his fada'il are something that you and I need to constantly remind ourselves. One day someone came to him and said to him, Yabna Rasulillah, I want to mention your greatness. I want to mention your fada'il, O Ahl al-Bayt. Tell me something. Imam alayhi salam looked at him, and this hadith, by the way, it is emphasized in so many other similar narrations from the Imam to the extent that the meaning has become accepted and there is no doubt about it. What the Imam says to him, he says, نَزِّهُونَا مِنَ الْعُبُودِيَّةِ. Make sure you do not say anything about us that is exclusively the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not attribute anything to us that is what? That is related to Allah tabarak wa ta'ala. It is only the what? Only belongs to Allah. Therefore starts with Tawheed. And then he says to him, وَقُولُوا مَا شِئْتُمْ. And say whatever you like. Now there are people who immediately will say, wait, does that mean the Imam gives us a green light to say anything other than attributing things to them that are exclusive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No, of course not. If someone today was to come and say that the Imam alayhum salam, the Ahl al-Bayt are ma'soom by compulsion, meaning what? Meaning that they have isma, but they have no choice. Meaning that they cannot sin. How many times you have seen the word infallible used? Infallibility is a very common term some people use to describe the isma of the Ahl al-Bayt. But technically the word infallible is not the right word to use. Because infallibility is a term used in Christian theology to mean unable to err, unable to make a mistake. The term infallible can only be used for the malaika. Why? Because our aqidah says what? From the Quran and from the teaching of Ahl al-Bayt, the Ahl al-Bayt can sin, but they never do. They are able to disobey Allah, but they never even think about it. So when you say they are unable to, you take away that fadilah from them. Because someone will come and say, what's so special about them? Allah has created them like a robot, astaghfirullah, where they cannot commit any mistakes. Whereas when you say error-free or sinless or use the word ma'soom, you are giving to them that fadilah which is actually theirs. Which means that they are able to, but they never do because of the fear of Allah, and they have that special ilm given to them by Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And this is supported in the Quran. وَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلْ فَمَا بَلَّغْتَ رِسَالَتَهُ. This is the ayah that's revealed in the day of Ghadir, isn't it? That the Holy Prophet of Islam is told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you don't deliver the message, it's as if you have not delivered the entire religion of Islam. Why is Allah telling him, if you don't? That means he had a choice. That means he had a choice to either deliver or not. Otherwise, if he had no choice, Allah would not tell him, Ya Rasulullah, if you don't. Because Allah does not say anything which is in vain. So he says to him, وَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلْ فَمَا بَلَّغْتَ رِسَالَتَهُ. What does the Imam here say? Or what does he mean when he says, نَزِّهُونَا عَنِ الْعُبُودِيَّةِ وَقُولُوا مَا شِئْتُمْ? He means that when you say things about us, this has to be what? Has to be backed up with knowledge and ilm. Meaning from the right sources, from what we have said about us, from the fada'il that we have mentioned, from the greatness that you have seen about us. And by the way, the hadith continues. And then Imam looks at him and says, but, there's an important but, whatever you all try to do, you will not be able to fulfill the letter alif, half of it written in the Arabic language of our fada'il. I have heard many of the Mawlanas, they say you will not be able to finish, or all the fada'il that we have of the Ahl al-Bayt is the A of the alphabet. I saw this hadith today. Imam alayhi salam al-Sadiq, he says the alif of the Arabic alphabet, when you write it, yes, you write it and then you put the hamza on top. He says if somebody writes this without the hamza, he hasn't put the full letter, you will, if you mention all that you know about us, that is not even reaching an incomplete first letter of the alphabet of the Fada'il of the Ahl al-Bayt. This is where we are and where the Ahl al-Bayt are, by the way. Yes, we do not know anything about them. We have not really grasped their beauty and their excellence. And that's why I remember this beautiful story. I want you and I to feel that proud association with Ahl al-Bayt, that it's not just a matter that I have picked up from my family, or I need to make sure, I need to ensure that my family and my children have this association with them. That is not a matter of what, something on the side. That one day somebody came to the Imam, or somebody came as a merchant to Madinatul Munawwara. And he was a businessman. He was waiting for Imam outside the mosque. And the Imam came on a camel held by somebody, a servant of his. So he was holding the camel and Imam was riding it. He reached the Masjidun Nabawi. Imam dismounted the camel, alayhi salam, and went inside the mosque. So this person, this rich man, businessman, waited outside, didn't want to go to the mosque. And all of a sudden, a thought came to his mind. He said, how beautiful it is to be a servant of Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, to be an individual to serve him. How amazing this is. Subhanallah, sometimes we have an idea and Allah gives us tawfiq to be able to act on it quickly because it's a blessed idea. By the way, if you ever come across any thought or idea which involves the worship of Allah and the spreading of the teachings of the religion, don't delay it. Because if you delay it, shaitan will make you what? Hesitate. This man said, okay, let me try. So he went to that individual who is a servant of the Imam waiting outside. He said to him, oh man, I have a proposal for you. He said, what is it? He said, are you the servant or the slave of the Imam alayhi salam? He said, yes. He said, I am willing to give all my wealth, and my wealth is a lot. He said, okay, what? For what? He said, we swap roles. I become the servant and you take all my money. The man, the riwayah says, the man's eyes lit up. He was delighted. Something like this offer is not usually heard of. But he looked at the man and said, let me go and ask the Imam because I have to seek his permission. We swap roles. I cannot because I am a servant of the Imam. So he entered the mosque. He saw the Imam in sajda, in salah. And he sat next to him. When he finished, Imam looked at him. He said to him, how can I help you? Well, what is it that you've come to ask me? He said to him, Yabna Rasulillah, I have been taught by you and by your forefathers that any time we come to you, you never disappoint us. مَا خَابَ مَنْ تَمَسَّكَ بِكُمْ. This line, many of us believe, anybody who goes to Ali Muhammad never is disappointed. Even though you may not see or get what you want. But they indeed ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says, I will give them, but at the right time, because of your wasila. Now, he said to him, Yabna Rasulillah, my request is that I want to switch. I want to go with this man. Or I want to take his role and you will be served by him. Please, do you agree? Imam alayhi salam, the riwayah says, put his head down like this. Then he raised and said, if this is what you want, then go ahead. Bismillah. No problem. So the man jumped happily. He's about to go. Imam says, but. You know that but is a killer. Yes. So he looked back. He said, what is it, Yabna Rasulillah? He said, I want to tell you one thing. He said, yes, yes. He said, إِذَا كَانَ يَوْمُ الْقِيَامَةِ when the day of Qiyamah happens, there will be a call that would be made by the malaika, ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That, oh, the family of the Holy Prophet, look around you. Anybody who served you in any shape or form, hold their hands and take them to Jannah with you. Anyone who served you. And that's it. You can go now. So the man came out. The person who's a businessman waiting for the good news, he said, when he came out from the mosque, I was waiting outside. When he went, he was very happy. When he came back, he was not as happy. So I looked at him and said, what happened? He said, Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam gave me permission. But wallah, if you give me the wealth of this world entirely, I will never leave serving my Imam. How can I? When the Imam just told me that he will hold my hands and take me to Jannah with him. It's my honor to serve Imam alayhi salam. Remember this, that you and I, as the followers of the Imam alayhi salam, to be the servants of the Imam, we are indeed in this great, beautiful position. But here's the thing, and the final thing that we need to remind ourselves. Imam alayhi salam, what does he want from you and I? What is it that he's expecting from those who claim to be Ja'fari, who claim to follow his teachings? The wife of Imam alayhi salam, her name is Hamida al-Musaffat. Hamida salamullahi alayha, the mother of Bab al-Hawa'ij, Musa ibn Ja'far, salawatullahi wa salam alayhi. Hamida Musaffat has a great station in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know why? Like the mothers of the Imam alayhi salam. When the Imam was about to leave this world because he was poisoned by the wretched Al-Mansur. Al-Mansur al-Dawaniqi. Today we have an entire area in Baghdad known as Mansur. And there is a statue for Mansur in that area. Big. Yes? To celebrate this personality. Mansur, yes, is well known. But, subhanallah, that is the bala we have. Yes? That he is the one who killed Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. But look at the fact that he has this particular statue and an area named after him. Because of Bani Abbas, and today even those who claim to indeed follow them. Now, what happened is that when Imam alayhi salam was poisoned, Al-Mansur said, whoever he puts as his deputy, the person who will follow him, execute him straight away. Al-Mansur said, I will not let this family live. So I have poisoned Ja'far al-Sadiq. Anyone who is there after Ja'far al-Sadiq from the Ahl al-Bayt, also kill him. He sent this instruction to his governor in Medina. Imam alayhi salam, given knowledge by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you know what he wrote in his wasiyah? He said, those who are after me are 6 people. My wife Hamida. Yes. My son, another son. The governor of Medina and Mansur. And my son Musa. Yes. So when Al-Mansur received this, he said, I have to kill all 6, including myself. So he was confused. But one of those that Imam alayhi salam wrote was my wife Hamida. Hamida had an important role. Hamida, she narrated some of the stories and the narrations of the Imam alayhi salam. Today we have, mashallah, the most number of riwayat after the Holy Prophet of Islam from the 6 Holy Imam. She says, when the Imam was breathing his last moments, when he was affected by the poison, he was unconscious. Then all of a sudden he woke up and he said to me, Hamida, bring me all my family, everyone. Every one of my family, I want them now. I want to see them. This is one of the last things Imam said before he left this world. Now usually we normally say things which are the most important before we leave this world, because we want to make sure everyone pays attention to it. Yes, most of us remember and have read the wasiyah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, in which he gave, and most of us remember it on the 19th, 20th and 21st of Ramadan, right? Imam alayhi salam, what Hamida says, we gathered his family members, daughters, sons, others, they gathered all around the Imam in his deathbed, and he said a line, one sentence only. And this line is for you and I also, because it's so important. He said, لَن تَنَالُوا شَفَاعَتُنَا مَنِ اسْتَخَفَّ بِصَلَاتِهِ. Anyone wants our shafa'ah will never ever get it if you take your prayers lightly. That's it. That's it. That's it. Wallah, I remember about 12 years ago, I was invited to one particular city here in the UK. I was surprised. I said to them, what would you like me to speak about? It was the month of Ramadan. They said, speak about the importance of actually praying. I said, Ajib, people don't pray? He said, no, because they believe being a Shia of Ali is enough. Next year I was invited. I said, what do you want me to speak about this time? They said, the importance of fasting in Ramadan. I said, people don't fast? They said, no. I said, why? They said, because they believe كل يوم عاشوراء وكل أرض كربلاء. And so because every day is Ashura, we're not supposed to fast in Ashura, so Ramadan is Ashura, so don't fast in Ramadan. Ajib. In the UK. In the UK. Why is it in the UK? Because sometimes people say, you know what, in certain countries you're not educated, so you don't have the knowledge. There's no internet, there's no ulama, there's no majalis. Yes? This is the extent. The first thing Imam alayhi salam is saying to you and I, and that is wilayah of the Ahl al-Bayt is the key to Jannah. But this key is only given to individuals who make sure that their wajibat, but more importantly, the salah is not neglected or taken lightly. Because there are people today who say, I don't need to. pray my Fajr or pray on time and care about my Salah because I'm the Shia of Ali and I'm already saved. Imam alayhi salam says you are in delusion. Because the true Shia of Ali are the ones who look after their prayers. The true Shia of Ja'far al-Sadiq are the ones who do not neglect their prayers. Question, final question. Imam, when he says, our shafa'a will not reach those who take their prayers lightly. What does it mean? What are the manifestations of taking prayers lightly? How is it manifested? First of all, there are two things about salah. One, it's acceptance. The second, it's its validity. There are two separate things. Please understand. Validity means that I pray correctly, but not everyone who prays correctly will get their prayers accepted. Maybe my fiqh is good. Maybe the laws I know. My recitation is good. But perhaps I am not doing the salah the way that what Allah wants me to, in the sense that my heart is not with it. In the sense that my timing is not with it. Timing means what? I leave it last minute. I am somebody who is constantly missing it. I am somebody who is not paying attention when I am praying to what is it that I am saying. There are these aspects which contribute towards the acceptance, qabool of the salah. So Imam alayhi salam, when he says this shafa'a of ours is only if you are serious about your salah. And because salah is a regular thing, 5 times a day, we become sometimes too relaxed about it. We become, it becomes robotic. It becomes, today, I was doing a session for the boys, young boys, about 50 or so of them, regarding bulugh. And one of the interesting things they were saying is what? Is I cannot pray at school sometimes, and when I come back from school, it is qadha. And we have been told it's okay. One person once told me, Malana, you know what I do? I pray the best namaz. I said, how? He said, I combine all of them at the end when I come back home at night. Ajib. I said, what do you mean? He said, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, all one package, nice. Yes? This is the one the Imam alayhi salam is talking about. That they take their prayers lightly, meaning what? Meaning that they begin to formulate their understanding about salah in accordance with their lifestyle, in accordance with how they live. But the reality today that we must remind ourselves and our family members, and that is that we must focus and ensure our lives are centered around salah, not salah centered around our lifestyle. Sometimes we leave it whenever we can. Many of the Shia timetables, I look at them and they put midnight. Midnight is not 12 o'clock. It's halfway between Maghrib and Fajr. It's what ulama define. But why many of these prayer timetables have midnight? When I was younger, I was wondering why. Until I went to the Hawza and then I realized it's there because people want to know when Maghrib and Isha become qadha. It's there because they want to make sure they pray it before it becomes qadha. Why? Because of the delaying. Because of the yes, sometimes we are in a situation, hospital, we have in extenuating circumstances, it happens. But when it's regular delaying of the prayers, when it's regular taking it lightly, when it's regular missing Fajr Salah, which is the oppressed Salah, then we wonder, this Shafa'ah of Ali Muhammad, will it reach us? Yes. It is an important reminder when we are gathered to remember Imam alayhi salam, to ensure we make a commitment because the Imam is waiting for that change in our lives in his name. And indeed, I have no doubt, in addition to this, what he said in his final moments, he would have definitely said something to people around him regarding a subject that the Imam cared about so much. Because today, when you look at Ashura and Karbala, the ziyarah literature that we have regarding what happened on the 10th of Muharram, much of it is from Imam alayhi salam, the 6th Imam. That one of his great legacies, one of his great achievements is the establishment of Azadari and the remembrance of Sayyid al-Shuhada and the ziyarah and the emphasis to go and visit Karbala and perform this important ritual, no doubt. You look at Ziyarat Warith, you look at Ziyarat Ashura, you look at the ziyaras on certain nights of the year like Sha'ban and Rajab and Ramadan. Many of them are from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, and they are because of his vision, understanding the importance that Karbala and Ashura plays in our lives, no doubt. And that's why Imam alayhi salam was not somebody who tells people, remember the tragedy of Karbala only through ziyarah. In many occasions, he would speak about the masa'ib of Karbala because his father was there in Karbala. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam was 3 years of age on the day of Ashura. So imagine, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam is not speaking from years and years of reading what happened, but from first-hand experience of his father, who would tell him what he witnessed on the 10th of Muharram. Yes. And that in itself is something. Yes. And that's why you hear about these particular stories in the time of the Imam alayhi salam regarding Ashura, and you recognize the pain that he was carrying. In one particular incident, Al-Mansur, this La'in, wanted to scare Imam alayhi salam. So what did he do? He sent a group of people and said to them, the house of Ja'far ibn Muhammad in Medina, set it alight. Burn it. Let it burn. Start the fire and let it spread in the house. Can you imagine? Imam is sitting in the house with his family, with his daughters, his sons, and all of a sudden they see the engulfing flames and that house indeed being pushed and broken, the door, and the fire thrown inside. And the way they threw the fire was using mechanisms that will ensure that it spreads. So they had it in certain types whereby they perhaps added some material that allow it to spread. So it spread quickly in the house of the Imam. Imam alayhi salam immediately, he stands, and his family, who are now shocked to see the fire engulfing the house, begin to run, begin to try to save themselves. I ask you one question, please think about this. If, God forbid, one day you see your own house in fire, if you see your family running away from fire, what is it that you normally do? Normally, you try to save yourself and the family. You normally try to make sure everyone gets there safely. Imam al-Sadiq, that moment, whilst trying to get everyone to move, was seen to cry profusely. He was shedding tears. He was crying, and telling people, come here, let's help you. So they saw him crying. They said to him, Ya ibn Rasulillah, are you crying because your family are running away from the fire? Are you crying because your house is set alight? Why are you crying? Because these people are attacking you? Is that what's making you upset? He said, Wallah, none of them. I am not crying because my family is suffering, or my house is being burnt, or I have to leave. I am crying because now I began to imagine what happened in Sham Ghariba. Now when I saw my family running from one room to the other, their dresses catching fire, I began to imagine what happened to the family of Abu Abdullah at that moment when the army of Yazid said, burn the tents and what? And crush them under the roofs of the houses, of the horses. He said, I began to imagine the fire catching the dresses of the women of the Ahl al-Bayt, screaming for help. That's what broke my heart, yes. That's what shattered my veins. Imagine Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam remembering the musibah and the pain of the women of the Ahl al-Bayt on that night, Sham Ghariba. And you know why he remembered this? It was Imam al-Baqir who was amongst them, isn't it? Imam al-Baqir would say to his son, Imam al-Sadiq, I saw the burning tents, I saw the burning clothes, I saw the children running from one tent to the other. One riwayah I saw about Sham Ghariba, wallah, this week broke my heart, that Sayyida Zainab, when she left one of the tents that was in fire, she started to scream out, where is one of the children of Muslim ibn Aqil? Not Hamidah, there was another child of Muslim who is missing. So she started to look, but it was very difficult. The flames were everywhere, the children were screaming, she was trying to gather everyone. After a few minutes, somebody came to her and said, oh Sayyida, I saw this young daughter running away. When she fell on the ground, one of the horses and the army of Yazid stepped on her with the horses. And Sayyida said, what happened to her? She said, Wallah, I saw that they split her body into two. She's gone, she's Shahida, she's not returning. They crushed her body under the hoofs of the horses, yes. These were one of the most breaking moments for the Ahl al-Bayt alayhum as-salam. That night of grief, that night of pain and suffering. That's why Sayyida Zainab will never forget Sham Ghariba, yes. What happened on Sham Ghariba, the suffering on Sham Ghariba, that moment when she gathered the family eventually and looked at them, all of them saying, oh, our auntie, where is my father? Where is my uncle? Where is my brother? She tried to calm them, she tried to support them. Later on at night, while she was calming them, she somehow fell asleep slightly. Even in her sleep, those moments where she slept, she was thinking about the children, the yatama of Imam al-Hussein. In that moment when she was asleep, the riwayah says that she saw that one of the children of the Imam was missing. It was not there. So she came out on the plains of Karbala, looking left and right, asking, where are you? Where are you? All of a sudden, she saw a lady covered up fully. She was holding that child of Imam al-Hussein. So Sayyida didn't recognize the lady, came to her and said to her, oh lady, on the day of Qiyamah, I will ask my mother Fatima to intercede for you. You will be the subject of the shafa'ah of Fatima to Zahra, my mother, because you saved Yatima of Hussein. That lady put down the child on the ground gently. Gently she put the child on the ground. Then she raised her head towards Zainab, came closer. It was dark at night. Zainab couldn't see. She came close to her and said, Zainab, I am your mother Fatima. It's me, I am Fatima. Zainab says to her mother Fatima, if only you saw what I saw today in Karbala. If only you witnessed what I witnessed on the plains of Karbala. Mother Fatima, I saw the body of Akbar and his head had split into two. Mother Fatima, I saw they had stabbed the chest of Qasim. They brought me the mutilated body of Aun and Muhammad. Mother Fatima, they tell me my brother Abbas, his arms are severed and the arrow is on his eyes. They tell me, I wish I was able to see him before he went. Oh, Mother Fatima, I had to take the body of Asghar with an arrow through his throat. Oh, Mother Fatima, I had to see Shimr walking to Abu Abdullah. I had to see Shimr sit on the chest of Abu Abdullah. I had to see Shimr stab the body of Abu Abdullah. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين وإنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Tonight As it was the case in many places around the world last night, today, and tonight, there are majalis remembering Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam in many places. But there is one place where there is no majlis, and that's Jannatul Baqi'. The grave of the Imam is all alone. There is no shrine, there is no dome, there are no zuwar, there is no matam, there is no majlis. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to see the day in which the shrine of Jannatul Baqi' is rebuilt again, Ya Allah. Allow us to hold majalis and ma'tam of the Ahl al-Bayt next to the newly built shrines, inshaAllah. Ya Allah, accept our a'mal and make us of those who are proud of their association and their identity of being Ja'fari and the Shia of Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salam. Ya Allah, allow us to spread the teachings of the Ahl al-Bayt all around the world. Ya Allah, protect our families and help us and grant us tawfiq to be able to establish the prayers and look after our salah, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, grant us the tawfiq to be able to visit the demolished shrines of Jannatul Baqi' in this dunya, Ya Rabb al-Alameen, and to grant us shafa'ah of Imam al-Sadiq in akhirah, Ya Allah. Please recite Surah al-Mubarakatul Fatiha for the following marhumin: Sayyid Musahib Reza ibn Sayyid Nasir Hussein, Sayyida Fayruza Rizvi bint Sayyid Israr Hassan Rizvi, Sayyid Sajjad Haidar Jafari ibn Sayyid Sharif Ahmad Jafari, Sayyid Husnara bint Sayyid Agha Jani, Sayyid Agha Jani ibn Sayyid Zulfiqar Ali, Sayyid Shamimara bint Sayyid Agha Jani, Sayyid Tahira or Sayyida Tahira Begum bint Mia Sharif Ali, and all marhumin. Al-Fatiha.